What's up, bookworms? Welcome to episode 128 of this Cantina Book Club podcast, where readers can find interviews with authors of all genres. I'm Megan, self-proclaimed content queen, here to bring you insights from the authors themselves. Each week features a Cantina conversation with an author. Sometimes they're returning guests, and sometimes it's someone new. So please be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you never miss out on an episode, and feel free to browse through existing episodes so that you might listen to a previous interview about a book that you've already finished. Today's episode features a chat with Sofia Robleda. We're talking about her book, The Other Moctezuma Girls. That book is available now. I loved chatting with Sofia. I always am so fascinated by historical fiction, and being Mexican myself, it was so cool to see the creativity that she took with this significant name and the significant points of history in the family that really did the huge conflict that shaped that country's history. Some spoilers may or may not pop up in these conversations, but the episode is more enjoyable if you've read the book anyway. So if you don't know why we are skirting around a certain character's choice, hit pause and add this episode to your playlist. Go pick up a copy of The Other Moctezuma Girls. The interview will be here when you're just a heads up that I often use adult language to express my feelings towards these authors and their work, whether the characters need to get their shit together or I am saying what the fuck to Sofia for making me feel things. Just please be mindful around listening ears. So, books coming out this week, March 3rd. Sisters of Book Row with Shelley Noble, and that interview with her will be coming out next week. And How Simi Got Her Groom Back by Sonali Dev, and that interview with her will be up in a couple weeks from now. Without further ado, grab your favorite drink. Here is Sofia. Okay, so today we've got Sofia Robleda. We are talking about The Other Moctezuma Girls. That book comes out on February 24th. Sofia, thanks so much for joining me. I just finished this. It's fresh in my brain. It was such an adventure, but also just like such a touching story. I loved everything you did with it. I loved Isabel. Loved her, her just personality was fantastic, and she made the story so much more interesting. So I'm excited to dig a little bit deeper today.
Oh no, I'm so glad to hear that you liked it. Thank you so much for taking the time to read it and also for having me and inviting me to this conversation. I'm very excited. I've got my little glass of wine to just
Perfect. I made a margarita for the occasion. So.
I thought about a lemon margarita, but I didn't have time. But anyway,
That's okay. That's okay. It's like you can just whip one after this conversation.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, we can be spoiler free, or if you want or don't mind any spoilers, that's okay too. We'll just give like a little warning to anybody who listens to the episode, but I'll just follow your lead. But if you give background summary or anything that we talk about in this conversation, just a heads up, it's whatever you want.
Okay.
Yeah, and so just to give a little summary so that people can follow along with the conversation.
Yeah, so The Other Moctezuma Girls is a historical fiction novel, a fictional memoir / adventure story set in 16th century Mexico after the Spanish conquest, and it has 2 points of view. One is the point of view of Isabel Cano, who is a young mestiza, so she's half Spanish, half Mexica, and she's the daughter of the last empress of the Mexica, these are real people that existed. So the real last empress of the Mexica was called Tecuichpoch, and she was baptized Isabel Moctezuma. And so the book starts with Isabel Moctezuma's death and her will and her children finding out what she has left behind. But then Isabel finds out that her mother left behind another will, another testament of her life and everything that she had to do to survive the Spanish conquest, and she hides the different chapters of her life story across the Valley of Mexico. And so Isabel goes on a quest to essentially find her mother's story and kind of reclaim her identity and her legacy, and it's like a coming of age type of adventure as well. And so we get both sides of the daughter kind of finding these chapters, and then the mother, every time we find one of the chapters, we also get a glimpse into her life and what she survived. And I guess this is like the real kind of historical aspects of the story, but hopefully in a way that is emotive and powerful for people to find out about this queen who lived and who no one really knows about. And so that was this is the book in as short a summary as I can make it.
Yeah. I know, because there is a lot going on, and a lot of
Yes.
it is just like, yeah, like it's powerful, and it's like we're going on that adventure with Isabel, and it's also, it was easy, at least for me, to just connect with her because she like, and both her and her mother, like through their eyes, because a lot of it's heartbreaking, and then you also feel for Isabel because she's learning so much more about her mother along the way, like through these entries, and she's just like going, like reflecting it and going through all the emotions
Yeah.
the more she learns, like each step of the way, and the adventure that she's set upon too, where it's how I mentioned we don't have to give too many spoilers, but the whole question of is like, why did we have to find out like this? Why do we have to do this to find these journals? And
Yes.
that it, like, everybody's so confused about it. We're like, this doesn't seem like her at all. And
Yeah, yeah. Oh, no, that is definitely a massive spoiler. Let's not go
yeah.
there. But that is a question. And also, I think I wanted that as well because it was like, we know in real life that the Witch Butch was, they think she was illiterate, that she didn't know how to read or write. So there's that question that's thrown about how would she have been able to do this? How would she have been able to put this together? And so there's like kind of a bit of a mystery there as well, which is, I think, it was actually a question that I kept asking myself until quite late in this story. I didn't. I was like, would she? So like, it's now also part of it. Yeah.
That's funny. That's funny. You're like, let me see. Like, what do I want to make? And
Yes.
like, yeah, you got to take a few creative liberties to figure it out.
Yes.
So this story is definitely, obviously, research heavy. I want to explore that because I imagine you fell down like so many rabbit holes or got caught up like just in hours of research, just putting these pieces together, and like, or was it like an idea and then the research, or did the idea of the book come from just something that you already knew about?
So the idea from the book came from research because
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of research for my first book, Daughter of Fire, and so that is set in the basically same year almost, but in Guatemala. And as I was researching that book, I came across the story of the Witch Butch and her will and that she had emancipated thousands of her slaves. And this is not a spoiler, it's like in the first few pages of the book. But this is something that she did do in real life. And so I was very taken aback because I am Mexican and I went to school in Mexico and not all my life, a fair bit. And but even like in my life, I've heard obviously about Moctezuma. Every Mexican knows about Moctezuma. Every Mexican knows about Cuauhtemoc. But I'd never heard of Isabel Moctezuma. I'd never heard
Mm-hmm.
about her. And so I was like, what? What? 1 second. Like, hold on.
Yeah.
What did she go through? What did she, like, she had 6 husbands? What? She had
Right.
7 children? She had a child with Hernan Cortez. There's direct descendants today that come from that line of Cortez and Moctezuma from the child that she had with him, Leonor. I was like, just flabbergasted that I didn't know about her and appalled, completely appalled. And she stayed with me like throughout the whole time that I was writing Daughter of Fire and trying to publish that book. And I was like, I need to find more about her. It was just like a constant thing. So then I started trying to find more about her, but there isn't much about her. There's like chapters here and there in a few books. And there's like a few little research articles here and there, but very minimal information about her. So obviously I had to do a lot more research about the time period, and I had already done quite a lot for Daughter of Fire, so I built on that foundation a bit more. The Daughter of Fire deals more with kind of like the Mayans, the Quiche Maya in Guatemala, but I was going back home a bit more to the Mexica in Mexico and from Mexico City, stepping a bit more into my own home territory, which was nice. But also I was like, now I have a huge responsibility. I always felt responsibility to do a really good job anyway with Daughter of Fire, but now it was like even more because I was like, this woman needs to have like the recognition that she deserves, and I want to make this book like something that like maybe launches her into the mainstream where I feel like she deserves to be. So yeah, there was lots of research. I went just articles and books and things like that, and then went to Mexico City, visited lots of museums, did like workshops, and which is the lake there, pre-Hispanic cooking class. Like I hiked the volcanoes,
Oh.
not to the top.
Yeah.
I couldn't physically manage that. But so there are lots of experiential research as well to get that. And it was ongoing. Even at the end, I was like, the Nahuatl words, like we need someone to check them, having a dictionary. So there's just constant questions and research, even all the way to the end of writing the book. So it was very extensive research, but it was important to me that it was like as well done as it could possibly be in that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I imagine, yeah, like I could totally see that where you're like, wait a second, like Isabel's not gonna leave me alone right now. Like you had to just do something. Because I think I was reading I think it was first like pronunciation guide, but then there was the section before that where you did a little like heads up to the reader. And I was like, oh, it was like, okay, because I am a sucker for historical fiction in general. I just think it's so cool. Some like just, you can just be creative with things that happened, like and people and like crazy, fascinating historical figures. And so I imagine how you were like, wait a second, like, okay, I gotta dig deeper. Like, I can't like let this go, kind of not leaving me alone. Like,
No,
yeah.
it was not.
What was the most fascinating thing that you learned, if anything stands out or surprising?
I mean that the fact that she had a child with Cortez was
Yeah.
mind blowing to me. Like mind blowing to me. That was like that kind of stopped my brain for a minute. And obviously, like reflecting on how that would have happened and the fact that it was likely not a consensual relationship.
Right.
There were a lot of sad and traumatic things to think
I was gonna say,
about.
like, how did you navigate that and like maybe take care of your own self while you're researching and writing these story, like her point of view of it?
There was a lot of crying.
Yeah.
But I knew what I was going into because I guess of having already done a lot of research into the Spanish conquest and in like I knew what to expect. I'm also a clinical psychologist by background.
Okay, there you go.
So in a way these things I can maybe take a little bit of a step back and understand them from a more kind of clinical viewpoint, but I'm still a human being. It still affects me. And there was a lot of crying, a lot of compassion. But at the same time, for me, it was like, how do we. I think one of the key questions also was how do I not like continue the trauma rather than I don't want this to be like some trauma porn thing. Like that would how do I like take a step back and stop that trauma from continuing as well with new generations. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't want that's
Yeah.
not what I want. I want this to be about her legacy and about her power and about her resilience and her endurance. And so I had to ask myself those questions, like which I did a lot as well in Daughter of Fire, in terms of how do I, because this is a novel about colonization, how do I ensure that I'm not perpetuating colonization? So that was the same question in this book, but now also with trauma, how do I not perpetuate trauma? So I hope I have done that, because that's what one of the things that I strove to do with this novel, like making sure that it's honest while at the same time and not hiding away these awful truths that need to be they need to be spoken about. History needs to be spoken about, otherwise it just keeps going.
Yeah.
But at the same time, empowering people in a way. So it was very tricky. It was very tricky. But I think maybe that's partly why I took the position with Isabel Cano, and like part of it, the processing that she does as well during the book, and in reflecting on it as a family, how it has affected the family, yeah, it was not easy, but it's something I hope I've done my best to
Yeah.
try. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, and I appreciated it. It was just a way for you to, I could definitely tell like those feelings came out through your writing. I felt like there was like an attempt to try to connect to the readers almost in that way, because because when I'm reading it, it's like I'm half Mexican, and but my family, mother's side, my maternal grandmother, her family, like generations back, was in have been in Texas since before Texas became Texas. So like the border crossed them. So they've been in that region for like ever, hundreds of years. And then my maternal grandfather, his side is closer to like Baja California. It was, and there's plenty of family history on both sides and how they came to be. But yeah, that's probably another reason why I found the story so fascinating, because when I do read about that time, like that significant history of how, in particular, like descendants of, or even just the mestizos, I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly, but mestizos themselves, it's coming to terms with you're a child of the conquered and the conquerors, and how much impact that could make on you, on your psyche, and as a person, as you're growing up, and your worldview. It's because, like you said, like a lot of it was, most of it, if not all, was non-consensual. And it's like, and that's when when I was trying to track down, I appreciate the family tree too, because when I was like looking at that, I was like, wait a second, because I was like, oh, like definitely that is because that's the whole family tree is, and then they had a kind of, it was a tricky balance, I imagine, because they're royalty essentially, but because they're mixed, like there's that elephant in the room. There's that unspoken kind of understanding of like, oh, because we're not like, we're mixed skin, and that's like how people view them. Like there's like so many mixed reactions and perceptions, even within like the people who live there, who are like not just the slaves, but like the people who live in those towns and the villages and stuff like that. And there's just like so many layers to it that I just like, you can't help but have like, you have to appreciate and respect the context.
Yes.
Because that's what that reminds me of. Because there's like some stories here and there where, yeah, it was like that's what that reminded me of. They had to come to terms with being mixed in a way that
was violent, like, was very violent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's definitely like the legacy of the conquest of Spain that we're still like dealing with today. So yeah, I mean, there's just so many societal, genetic layers, and yeah, part of it is also trying to, it's hard because like some people, especially if you have Mexican ancestry, you might have more of an understanding about it, but a lot of the audience doesn't. Like a lot of the audience doesn't realize that there was this mixing of cultures and mixing of blood, and that most Mexicans today have that ancestry. That's not really common knowledge, I don't think. And yeah, and so like there's part of it that needs to be dripped into the story so that the person who might not know, like who isn't aware, understands a little bit about what that means. So yeah, I think there's a lot of layers in there. Yeah.
It's like, I know, I'm like, this conversation could be like 2 hours long if we let it, because there's just like so many things you can kind of like tangents we can go off on, but all of it's like so important. That's why I love asking authors about research, because I'm like, you probably had to be like things that you really wanted to include, details, but maybe, oh man, for the sake of a word count, or for the sake of not bogging down the story, because you have to maintain a pace. You don't want to like have the readers like kind of attention.
It's not a history book. It's not, you're not like spoon feeding people. It's very hard to strike that balance where like, here's a teeny tiny tidbit, just so you know, this is what you know.
So, that also reminds me of like, was it the pestilence? I think it was that sickness. That's something that's maybe not talked about that much, is when, not just in Mexico with the Spaniards, but like the Americas in general, when they came and colonized, and like they brought a lot of illnesses and sicknesses with them. And it was, when you think about it, that's another thing that makes me think, oh, that makes so much sense, because they're introducing these new, just not only humans, but like everything that they brought with them, whatever.
That people had absolutely no defense to. And yeah, it was 90% of the population perished from the smallpox epidemic that the Spanish brought. So, you're dealing with an apocalypse. And some people forget that context. They just assume that 500 Spanish men came and they just conquered the Aztecs, and like completely minimize the fact that they had made deep alliances with people that didn't want the Aztecs to be ruling, and also that they destroyed the population with their epidemics. Obviously that wasn't like, the Spanish didn't know that they were going to do that, but it was incredibly lucky for them and devastating for everyone else. So yeah, I mean that's something that she survived, that Tequitchpoch survived, that Isabel Moctezuma survived. She was there.
That's wild too, because she made that sliver of percent that made it, and her mom didn't. Like, that's, oh my gosh, it's so heartbreaking. Because, like, yeah, just it's like not only are we in Isabel's mind, but then we're in her mother's mind too, as she's recounting these through chunks of years at a time. And you're learning about, like, oh my God, she was a widow 3 times by the time she was like 12. It was just like, I even like I write notes just to like write down my thoughts or summarize things. And I remember being like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, this is horrible.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then she had, like, you definitely got that message across where she was like, it was so hard not to hate her father for basically using her and her sisters as bargaining chips or as pawns, as pieces to navigate
Yeah.
this war
Yeah.
or a way of peace.
Yeah.
Even like it's, and just to like imagine being in her shoes of being like, really, like, this is what I am to you. Like, I can't imagine like having to reconcile with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is. It's really not. It's not an easy story, like, to think about, like how would you even overcome that and then, like, what kind of struck me at the end for her, like the end of her life, was that not only did she live through all of this and survive and persist and keep going, her last kind of act was to free hundreds, if not thousands, of people from slavery. So I kept coming back to that through all of these awful, devastating like moments. And just thinking, how would she have done this? How could she have picked herself up and kept going after, like, being knocked down over and over and over again? And that, to me, just also, like, I did read something that was really important that kind of helped me conceptualize maybe the thought process that she would have gone through, and that was reading this non-fiction book called Fifth Son by Camilla Townsend. And what she's done is she's collected so much evidence that the indigenous people of Mexico kind of left behind about the Spanish conquest, and so she's like collated it into this book and basically telling their perspective of the Spanish conquest.
Oh, wow.
So I read that book like 17 times. It's just like almost like highlighted, like going through it and so for them, there was one kind of aspect of it that was like one of their beliefs was that the world had already ended like 4 times before. And so it was part of the belief system that the world's ended, but then someone would sacrifice themselves and God would sacrifice themselves to keep the world going. So they were living through the fifth son, but the world would end and then they would renew. And so it was, okay, this happens, horrible things can happen, chaos happens, but if you keep going, if you keep trying, then you can bring order again, and you can bring light again, you can bring the sun again. And so that was incredible to me, like that this would have been like part of her like the way she was raised to get back up and get back up. And
that's true.
Yeah.
That's so powerful.
Yeah.
I have a bone to pick with you because some of the food you described was like so good. So I want to, like, you said you went to like cooking classes and stuff like that.
Yes.
I want to explore like how that seems like so fun. It's the fun part of the research.
Yeah, so that was super fun. I love research. I'm a big nerd, and it was all fun. But that was very fun. I took my husband there because he loves cooking. But this chef that we had a class with, she's an expert in pre-Hispanic food. And I really wanted to get a good understanding of what the food available at the time. That was more before there was too much influence from the Spanish. And it was really nice. So there was like one dish that we made there that is in the book, the dessert, the zapote dessert, which is like the creamy dulce de mamey. So like she eats like this little red dessert, and they're fighting over it. So we made that. And there was, to be fair, cooking is like one of my least favorite things. I can cook. And I will cook, but I don't love cooking. So I'm more like Isabel. I love eating, and I love like tasting all sorts of food. So for me, it was more like about the flavors, about the sensory details, but a lot of the chef. She like literally gave me all these books about
I was gonna
race.
say that you told her like, yeah, I'm
Yes,
writing this book,
yeah. So
blah blah
I
blah.
told
Yeah.
her, and she's a friend of a family friend. So like she was like,
Okay.
here, have like all of these books and keep them as long as you want. And I like brought a couple of them here, and like they were so useful in looking at menus that were in like Hernan Cortez's home, but also how food was described before he came, like when they were going on their conquest, like they made lists of food that they tried and things like that. So there's lots of research on the food, and yeah, and I wanted that to be very like like a really kind of key part as in a way because of how big Mexican food is in for our
I
culture.
love how you made that such a part of Isabel's person. I was like, and that was probably one of my favorite
Yeah.
parts of like how you created her as a character was like she, because even like it was such a big part of like her, like who she was. And
Yeah.
I was like, I appreciated that so much because it is like food is such a big thing of any culture, of any how you're gonna like get to know any sort of background or culture or any part of anybody. You can, there's a lot you can learn about someone by seeing how they cook or what they cook or how they, and a lot of people like that's their way to show love or that's a way to care. Like food is so central even to like happy times, tragic times, like celebrations or mourning and so many big milestones. And I love, it's like the older I get, the more like I'm learning more about more different types because I think I was like probably 30 or 33 when I first tried Indian food for the first time. And yeah, and I was like, oh, it's because my husband, he's an engineer, so he works with a lot of Middle Eastern people. And so and now I'm like, okay, now I know. It's just tricky because I'm like, I like spicy food too. And because of my growing up, just I'm half Mexican, half Irish, although it's funny because not so much flavorful. But my dad, he loves to cook, so he would like do my grandma, his mother-in-law's recipe. He was the one setting up the tamale line, like the assembly line. He was the one trying different recipes and stuff like that. So I was a little bit spoiled, but I realized like, oh, that's like therapeutic for him. And that's how he provides for
Yeah.
people. That's his contribution. And
Yes.
then looking at that and seeing that as part of my own, like the more that I'm growing, like the more older that I get, the more I'm expanding on my palate and discovering different types of
Yeah.
foods. And like how when I first tried Indian food, I was like, okay, now I know there's a couple that I'm like, oh, I know I'm gonna love this. And then there's a couple other ones where I'm like, I'm not sure what is in here. You know what I mean? But I'm still like, I'll take a scoop. I'll see what it's about, you
Yeah.
know, because I'm like, chances are 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna enjoy it.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's fun that way. But yeah, I loved like Isabel. I think one of my favorite parts where she was like crying and they were freaking out and they were like, oh my God, she's crying. Wait. And then Nano was like, I think I have another like tamale in here. Like, wait.
Do you have any food? Give her food.
I like just little moments like that, but it was like, oh crap, like feed her.
Yeah,
Like
feed her.
she's
Feed her.
upset.
She's
Like
like,
fix this.
this
Stop this.
doesn't.
This is like a crisis. She's
She's
crying.
crying. Give her food.
And she just is so like feisty and
Yeah.
like she represses it almost, right? Like she just, or when she does feel things, she doesn't get like her emotions don't manifest in that way all the time.
Yeah.
It's kind of like more like anger
Yes.
or like rage. I don't know. I'm gonna even if it's toxic, I'm always gonna be an advocate for female rage. I'm just like yes.
She's like, my brothers do it, so why can't I?
Yeah, I
Like,
love
yeah,
that.
yeah. So she definitely, there's a lot of kind of family lore about crying and vulnerability and this mistaken. She has a mistaken idea of her mother, and I think that's why she's kind of keen to find out and so passionate about, is this really her? Can I be more vulnerable? Did my mother cry? Did she cry? And she's dealing with grief and the loss of her mom, and she doesn't know how to cope with it, so she's just like trying to escape and fight at the same time. Yeah, so she was a real joy, I think, like to write and explore a lot of kind of that feistiness. And I see a lot of me in her as well, like that feisty person that kind of doesn't give up. So
Or
like,
kind of just quick to be like, what do you know?
yeah.
Kind of like your guard up a little bit. Yeah, like you're like, wait, like yeah, absolutely.
She has a heart of gold, and I think like she's very protective of her family and the people that she cares about. So yeah, I think that was also a way to ease up on the seriousness a little bit, to explore the sibling rivalries and the sibling dynamics and just make it a bit more, yeah, also, okay, this family is dealing with the after effects of their mom passing away, but they're still teenagers and they're still like young and like what would that be like in the 16th century as well?
Exactly. Well, they're all like on this wild goose chase, like
Yeah.
quest,
Yeah.
like and poor Katina, where she's like she is hard of hearing. She's deaf, but it's like it seemed like because she could still it's also funny, she doesn't know how loud she is because she
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah. She can't hear her voice. She's very loud.
Which I love that cute little it's like, yeah, it's unfortunate, but it is part of her, but that's like ways to find break the 10 because she is like she was so important. Like those two girls were like thick as
Yeah.
thieves. And Nano, I love that she had, you know, she had him too.
Yeah.
And he was like he took brotherly position very seriously where he's
Mhm.
like, "Oh no, you don't."
Yeah.
Like
Climbing on this volcano. You know?
or even like with the cute little crush, like the budding love story where
Yes.
he was like, "Oh, absolutely
No.
not." Like he got so like
Get your hands
like, "What
off my
about you?"
sister.
And then she was like, "What about you? What were you doing?" Like
Yeah, she
I
does. She
love it.
doesn't take it lying down. She gives it back just as much as it's harder.
You're like, yeah,
Yeah.
like glass houses, brother, like
Mhm.
come on. I love that. It's the kind of like the sibling you can't not include some of that into you could tell like there's such a tight knit bond. There's such a bond there. And also because there's like rivalry amongst the old other ones. And it's like almost not just with Lenore, who's like the naturalized one, but also with oh god, her fifth husband's son, like her first
Andrade.
son.
Yeah.
Yeah, her firstborn son. And so having that where she holds him on a certain pedestal and so when certain events take place, it's heartbreaking too. And then like the two older brothers, it was just like it was dude like we have to stick together and then that's a part of the coming of age where they go through heartbreaking things. It's almost like a rivalry but then it's almost like she kind of pushes at one point she pushes Nano away and then she's like immediately regrets it. She's immediately like oh shit, what did I do? Like I should not have done that. And especially because unfortunately she like doesn't want cute dark skinned boy with like curly hair. She doesn't want him to see that side of her either. And it's she's just like, this is between me and my siblings. Like, don't,
Close your
and it's like,
eyes.
yeah,
Yes, and the thing is, like, what we know historically is that the family was torn apart by the will and the kind of this was historically accurate. There were sibling rivalries. There was decades and decades of lawsuits after her
oh
like last will and
wow,
testament. And part of it was also like we knew this. I know this happened. So like how do I portray that historical accuracy while also making sure it's a human and relatable thing that we all understand? We all fight with our brothers and sisters, and you
yeah.
know, there's a
And
lot of
nobody can piss
drama.
you off quite as much as they can. Like
Oh my
some stranger could say something and you're like, okay,
God.
whatever. But
Yeah,
if your sibling says it,
yeah,
you're like,
oh
ooh,
yeah.
like don't I don't know. Like I don't know how that happened. It is. I felt for her and I felt for Nano too, because he
Yeah.
was just like, oh, it's like her feistiness, her fire got the best of her, unfortunately. It was just he got to he I don't want to say big for his britches because he's the older brother and he is looking out and he's like he's trying so hard. And then he's just straight up like, okay,
I give up.
I can't. Yeah, like yeah. I cannot. I cannot. I'm like, dude, I'm surprised you lasted this long. Like, good for you, man. You did try. You gave it a solid effort.
I'm glad that you kept that relationship with him because actually that was something that I had to. He was a. My editor said that I had made him a bit too unlikable at times, like too. So I did edit,
Protective or
yeah,
like,
a bit too protective. Like I did have to tone down a little bit. So I'm glad that I did that because that is what I wanted to show that he's a very caring son and boy and brother and like he has to deal with two very headstrong very feisty sisters it's
yes.
just like drives anyone up the wall. Yeah.
And he's gonna turn gray before he's like 25. Like he's just like which I also like thought was so cute, like his budding romance, and I love that that was almost it reminded me like Isabel's love of food and her relationship with food also. Like when she saw was it Elvira?
Elvira,
What's her
yeah,
name?
yeah.
Yeah, Elvira. When she saw her react with the food, then that's how she decided to like her. That was so funny and so cute. I'm like, oh, she's like, I decided she's all right.
Yeah, she's all
Like
right.
she likes food like me. Like that's so funny. It was so cute. Let's see. I'm gonna do this to you. Okay. Out of the 7 siblings,
Oh god.
you know how like a hot wings challenge?
Challenge a cat.
Do you know, like, there's
Like
so
when you
there's like
eat
in the
like
show.
really hot wings or
So it's like there's hot ones, and it's like a show where like there's the host, and they eat like it have 10 sauces, and so what they're in a celebrity or whatever, and so each
oh
raises in
yes,
heat.
yes.
And so they try the 10 by like eating wings. So I want to pick your brain, like who would make it the furthest out of the 7 siblings? Who would be able to last the longest to like the hottest out of the 7 of them? Like the hottest, who would be able to eat the hottest wing?
I think
Or how would they approach the hot wing?
firstly, like Katina would not get to the hot at all. Like she would be the least. She's like,
Who gets a
no,
wing one, like step
I
one?
want lemon and herb. She wants lemon.
Yeah.
I think probably Gonzalo would get like the second hot like heat. Then I think Andrade would probably get like the next. Then Nano. Then I think it would come down to like a battle of the wills between Leonor and Andrade and Isabel. Gosh, who would get the hottest? To be
Or who would make it
fair,
the furthest?
I think Leonor would make it the furthest. She's
Because she is just petty, and she's like, no,
she would feel,
my mouth will be on fire,
yeah.
but I'm gonna win. Like,
Yeah, she would definitely be then Isabel, and then I think Pedro, sorry, and Andrade would
yeah.
get there in the middle as well. Yeah.
I love that because Isabella is headstrong like that too, where she's like, "No, I'm gonna beat my brother."
Yes, she would try. She would try very hard to beat them, and even if she was
Yeah,
struggling, she wouldn't. She would do it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's fun. I love that. That's like because like I try to think of like fun questions, like just how you would like another one I'm gonna ask is okay, I won't make you do all 7 of
Okay.
them. What advice do you have for Isabel, for Katina, for Nano, and for Lenore?
Oh, what advice do I have for them? I think, like, for the 3 Canos, I think sticking together and, like, forgiving each other and just continuing to support each other. It's a difficult enough world as it is. Trying to be compassionate and loving with each other, even though they're not. Like, it doesn't come naturally. Leonor. Leonor. I will tell you this. My next book.
Or will she even listen to you?
Yeah,
Right?
my next book is going to be about her. That's what I'm focusing on her. I think I will figure that out in the next book that I write.
Okay. Oh my God, you're gonna have your work cut out for
Yeah.
you with that. You're like, stay tuned.
Yes,
Like advice pending.
don't kill me, basically.
Right. Oh, that's so funny. So we touched on this a little bit. What were the most challenging parts to write? What were the most enjoyable parts to write?
The most challenging, I found the kind of end of the quest really like hard in terms of like the stamina that was required to push through. I really felt the quest. I felt the kind of arduousness of having to climb a volcano. It took me quite a while to get through those scenes, and it was all like I texted my husband like, they've got instructions. they're camping. They're finally getting there. It took a long time to write them and try and make them like powerful and moving. But yeah, it was a climb. It was a climb for me, physically, like mentally. The scenes that I found not the easiest, but the most kind of that felt most flowing were the chapters, the Thick Witch Butch, Isabel Moctezuma chapters, and Mother's chapters. It took me a while to figure out how to write them, and I didn't quite get her voice straight away. So what I did actually is I wrote like half the book, basically in Isabel Cano's perspective, and then once I got to the half point, I was like, I need to know what's going on with the mom now. It's like now I can't ignore it anymore. I have to really buckle down and figure it out. But I had to rewrite it a couple times, I think, until I felt it was right. But once I got it, I felt like really just like aligned, and I felt really like a flow and a power kind of sifting through me. And those were difficult and sad and emotional to write, but also incredibly fluid. Like I felt very fluid writing them, channeled, and so they were to me as a writer the most satisfying to write. So yeah, that's that was
I think I could that came yeah, they came through in your writing too. I could tell that you were like maybe having a little bit of a hard time with the last like that last task. I felt that through her because she was just like you could sense like if she wasn't 16 years old, if she was older, she'd be like, fuck this shit. She would be like, Mom, why how did you make it up here? And then that just like when you realize like the whole that spoiler territory, you're just like, oh, that just adds like such another layer of like realization. Like, wow. Like, wow. Like seriously. But I love that also the fun times too, or like when you got into the flow too.
yeah.
Like I just it's fun. I love asking authors that because you could tell like it comes through in your writing where it's like this is where you're feeling it and this is where like maybe you're struggling or maybe that's the challenge for you even though it's also challenges can also be fun too. But you had a like you went on a trek on that volcano yourself, so you were probably like, "Oh god, it's like I'm back there
Yeah,
again." Like
yeah. I was like, I know what they're feeling. I was like, why am I doing this? Like, who? This is, no one's even paying me for this yet. Like, what am I?
you're like, "This better be worth it."
I know.
It's so funny. Yeah, I did my husband and I to celebrate our 10-year, we went to Hawaii and we did hike the crater and it was like maybe half a day and there was like more it seemed more touristy because it was like there was a whole bunch of people doing it and the views were beautiful and it was like I was like, okay, this is like a good self-paced workout. Like and it's one of the non-lazy things that we did. You know what I mean? Like otherwise it's just like poolside, beachside, whatever. Like I was just like I got my drink, I got my book. Like
Yeah,
I don't it's like some food ready for
yeah,
snacks, all that.
yeah.
But yeah, like it is funny because like you see everybody out, like everybody else is doing the same thing. I don't know, was that for you? Was it like where was it really populated
No, it was just
doing that?
me and
No?
my sister and the
Okay.
hiking guide, and the intention was to.
Also, it's not a very popular or well
I think like I think it's not like unpopular, but
not a
I
lot of
wanted
people.
it to not be too because what I wanted was like that sensory experiential
Yeah.
like I was doing it for research so
Mhm.
part of it was like I didn't want to get too many distractions. I wanted to really be there, feel what I was feeling, hear, smell,
Sure.
taste. I went with my sister and then there was like obviously there was that aspect of it. It's like what is it like to climb a bit of a
With
mountain
your
with my
sister,
sister.
right? Like
And actually, it was lovely. It was also like she was there, and so I wrote so many notes. It was just all about taking in
Oh,
and
yeah.
asking the hiking guide because we weren't able to go to Ixtaccíhuatl because the volcano because there was had been a huge storm the day before, so we were able to get close-ish. But she had summited the volcano so many times, so I literally like pestered her with every single question that I could possibly think of.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. She was like, "Oh god." Like like I'm sure she was gracious, but still.
yeah, I told her
She's like, "Oh my
why.
god, what
I told her
do
why. I
you
was like,
have?"
I'm
Like
writing a book, so I just sorry, but I need to ask you like every random weird question that you can
right.
possibly think of.
Right.
Yeah, so that was part of that. Yeah.
I love that. That's hilarious. Okay, Sofia Robleda, are you working on anything now? Are you working on anything that you could talk about? Next project?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm definitely looking into Leonor Cortez and her life. There's not much on her as well, but she was married to the discoverer of the mines of Zacatecas, the silver mines, and these mines were like completely world changing in terms of funding the Spanish Empire. She had a pretty interesting upbringing from what I have gathered. And so I'm trying to look into her a little bit more at the moment. There's very little, I've written a little bit, but not much. I just haven't had like the space or time, especially with the book coming out so soon. I'm very much
Yeah.
a one kind of book at a time person. Like,
Well, that is totally acceptable.
I just don't know how people like write in between of a book launch. Like, it's just too exciting, and there's so much going on. But I'm like dipping my toes into this, and I'm definite. I know that she's also not leaving me alone, so I know that this is something that I need to pursue because it's been a couple of years. She's been on like niggling me.
Yeah.
So
You're
yeah,
like, "Fine, okay, Lenore." I love that. Yeah, I seriously, that is I'm not surprised at all because she was like you I like love I always find it fascinating how authors you have to like just make characters' personalities distinct from one another and it was so funny because like we are seeing it through Isabel's point of view and she's just like I almost felt sorry for her but she's so awful so it's whatever like she
She deserves
And then we
it.
that was like, okay, she set the tone for how she feels, and then we get it, we're like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
And then once we learn more through
Mm.
eyes, it is like it's more like, "Oh, dang," like,
Yeah.
they're a product of their unfortunately,
Yeah.
and it just ugh, it's more it's like there's a sympathy there, but then it's good I was like, "Good for you for kind of growing up awful." Like, if you're awful to people, like, you have to it's almost a defense mechanism,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, it's yeah.
You understand, you have that compassion. I think that's something that also is interesting about fiction and literature, that you can maybe make you appreciate a bit more about what people's perspectives on why they end up the way they end up. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So where can we find you online and on social media?
And so I'm basically only on Instagram, and but people can also sign up to my newsletter. I send like a monthly newsletter. It's been getting quite political recently.
It's hard not to,
But
yeah.
I try to get a mix of like books that I'm reading, like historical things that I find, and just general writing updates, lots of giveaways and nice things that I like to do for my readers. But yeah, Instagram is my only platform. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Honestly, it's almost easier that way. Just like this is where you can find me. This is what I'm focused on
Yeah.
because there's like so much out there.
Yeah.
And don't things are super the political landscape right now is very in your face. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of serious things going on, and especially just with the nature of your work and your research and the fiction that you're putting out there. It's like it's not I appreciate the historical fiction not just because of that, but it also is almost like parallel to a lot of what we see and continue to see.
Yeah.
And so I think that's probably why part of the reason why, not only because it makes me feel like I'm smarter when I'm finished, but also because it is a way to like connect and make those connections and see those parallels, and also just a way to like a commentary on it in one way or the other. So it makes so much. I'm not surprised. I wouldn't expect anything else from you who just came out buttloads of research about a particular group of people in history, seeing certain things going
Yeah.
on right now.
Hey, it's
And
like,
yeah,
this is relevant 500 years later.
right?
Sadly, can we move
Gosh,
forward as a species for the long? But
I
anyway,
know.
people will always try to get one up someone else, and yeah.
It's yeah, it's wild. It's it's like again, we could go off on a
Yeah.
tangent on that, but okay. Sofia Robleda, the Other Moctezuma Girls, that book comes out on February 24th. Thank you so much for your time, for your answers, and for getting a little vulnerable and authentic. Again, I will recommend this book to anybody
Thank
who loves
you.
historical fiction. And yes, yay! I love the cover, by the way. It's so
I know, it's
beautiful.
gorgeous. Hey, I love it. It's
So
just stunning,
beautiful.
stunning.
It's like I feel like if I saw that on the shelf, I'd be like, "Oh," like I would do like a
I
double or
hope
triple
so. I
take.
hope so.
Yeah.
Anyway, people do a double, a triple
There you
take.
go. Absolutely. And if and when you're ready to talk about your next project, about Lenore's story, feel free to reach out. I'd
Oh,
love to chat again.
100%. It's been so nice. It's been so lovely. And I really appreciate the time that you've taken to do this, Megan. It's been just lovely to speak to you. And also, I've been like admiring your beautiful hair and your makeup. It's
Oh, thank you.
stunning. Like, just gorgeous.
No, it is. Thank you. I've always had long hair and like I've been playing around with color and I
Beautiful.
did like curl it a little
No,
bit.
the whole
So
time I've been like, they're
yeah,
so pretty.
thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Have a lovely
Okay.
weekend, and thank you.
And there you go. That was Sofia
And there you
Robleda
go.
talking
That
about her
was
book, The Other
Walter B.
Moctezuma
Levis
Girls. That
talking
book is
about his
available
book,
now.
The Meaning of
Check
the
out the show
Murder.
notes
That
where
book is
you can
available
see
now.
links, like where
Check
to
out the show
find
notes for to
Sophia
see links
online
where
and
you
on
can
social
find Walter
media,
online and on
and
social
where to
media,
purchase the
and
book.
where to
In the
purchase
show
the
notes,
book.
you'll also
In the
find
show
links
notes, you'll
where you
also
can
see where
find
to find
Cantina Book
Cantina Book
Club
Club
on your
online
favorite
on your
social
favorite
media
social
book
media
communities,
book
such
communities,
as
such as
Bookstagram,
Bookstagram,
BookTok,
BookTok,
BookTube, Threads,
BookTube,
Facebook,
Facebook,
and
Threads, and
more. And I
more.
would love and
And I would
appreciate
love
if
and
you could
appreciate
hit
if you could
that
hit that
follow or
button
subscribe
and
button so that you
so
never
that you
miss
never
out on
miss
book
out on
reviews
book
or
reviews
author
and author
interviews.
interviews.
And
If
if
you
you
have
have
any
any
book
book
loving
loving
friends
friends
who
who
are
are
looking
looking
to
to
get
get
more
more
out
out
of
of
their
their
reading
reading
lists,
lists,
please
please
share
share
Cantina
Cantina
Book Club
Book
with
Club
them
with them so
so
that they
that they
can
can
find
find
upcoming
upcoming
releases
releases
and
and
interviews with
interviews with
authors.
authors.
Another way to
Support
support
this
this podcast
podcast
is to head on over to your favorite podcast player
and give
and give
Cantina Book Club
Cantina
a
Book
rating
Club
and
a rating
review.
and
It
review.
helps me to
It
reach
helps
more
me to reach
potential
more
potential
potential
listeners
listeners and
and
fellow book lovers like you.
and that
And
goes
that
for
goes
any
for any
podcast that you
podcast you listen
It's
to.
one of
It's
the
one of the
easiest ways
easiest
that you
things
can
that
help
you could
out.
do to help out.
If you need book
If you need new
recommendations,
book recommendations, you can reach out to me. I'm always so excited to share my recommendations recommend
particular
suggestions,
favorite genre,
no matter what genre
or your
that
reading
you're
mood,
looking for.
or you can head on
Or you
over
could
to
head over to
cantinabbookclub.com
to read more in-depth book reviews
of all types of
types.
genre.
Because
While you're at it,
every
you can
interview that I
subscribe by
do,
entering your
I
email
have
on the
read the
website
book.
so that you can
I'm
get new
also
reviews
reading
and
books
episode
and leaving
posts
reviews
delivered directly to
about
your
those that I'm not
inbox.
interviewing the authors
If you want to
for,
support
so go
Cantina
check
Book
it
Club
out.
even more,
And
you
while
could
you're
donate
at
by
it,
finding the
you
form
could
on
subscribe by entering your
cantinabbookclub.com,
email on
whether
the
it's a
website so
one-time
that you can
donation
get
or as
reviews
little as
and
$1
author
a month.
interviews
I
directly
seriously
into
appreciate
your
the support and
inbox.
will share
If
my
you want to support
appreciation
Cantina Book Club
by giving you
even
a shout
more,
out
you
on
could
the
donate
show,
by
or
finding
maybe
the
sending
form
you
on
something a
the
little
website,
extra.
cantinabbookclub.com.
And finally, one of the
Whether it's
best
a
ways that you
one-time
can help
donation or
authors
as
promote
little
their
as
works is
$1
to
a
head on
month,
over
I
to Amazon,
seriously
Goodreads,
appreciate the support
Storygraph, or
and will share my
wherever that
appreciation
you
by giving
look
you a
for
shout
book
out on the show or a little
recommendations,
something extra.
and give the title that
And
you've
finally,
read and
one of
that
the
you
best ways
liked
to
a
help
rating and
authors
review,
promote their
and it
works
helps out
is to
almost as
head on
much as
over to
actually purchasing
Amazon,
the book
Goodreads,
or
Storygraph, or any
promoting it on
other
social
platform
media.
that you look for
Thanks
your
so
own
much
book
for
reviews.
listening,
Give them
and
a
see you
reading
next
and
time.
review. It
Cheers.
really helps out so much other than actually purchasing the book or giving them the shout out on social media. Thanks so much for listening and see you next time. Cheers.